Lovers of the Theatre of Dreams are in for a real nightmare. Manchester United have just announced plans to build a new stadium of staggering dimensions in place of the current Old Trafford, also known as the Theatre of Dreams. A huge betrayal for the fans and an investment of almost 2.4 billion euros for the club. In Manchester, as in Paris, where PSG seems to be leaving the Parc des Princes, or elsewhere, the world's experiencing a new fever of sports stadium construction for financial gain or geopolitical reasons. Infrastructures built by clubs and countries alike are at the heart of major geopolitical issues. Such is the case with the 2026 World Cup, which will be played in 16 stadiums across Canada, Mexico, and the United States. Since Donald Trump's return to the US presidency, the three countries have been in the midst of a trade war, putting the success of this competition, which will be watched by billions of people, at risk. From Barcelona to Casablanca, from Dallas to Manchester, I'd like to take you on a tour of the biggest stadiums currently under construction and the issues surrounding them. To begin our tour of stadiums, we return to Manchester in the north of England. A land of football, the city is divided between two rival clubs, City and United. Although the latter's often played a leading role on the national and European stage, it seems to have had more difficulties in recent years. A sporting collapse that's also been felt economically. According to the British newspaper The Guardian, the club is more than 830 million euros in debt, with losses of 356 million euros in the last 3 years alone. In the midst of these difficulties, 450 employees have been laid off. A balance sheet that doesn't seem to have panicked the shareholders, and in particular, Jim Ratcliffe. The businessman, founder of the Ineos Chemicals Group, is a 29% shareholder in the club. Proof of this is the announcement of the construction of the world's biggest football stadium, in the words of Jim Ratcliffe. In early March, Manchester United made official a long-simmering rumor that the club would be leaving its historic stadium for a new one. The new stadium was designed by star architect Norman Foster. Few details about the new home have been revealed. Located just a stone's throw from the existing Old Trafford, the new stadium will have a capacity of 100,000. Architecturally, it'll feature a trident that'll be visible from miles around. This is a combination of 3 gigantic masts that'll tower over the stadium and serve as the framework for the stadium's roof. The current cost of the project is £2 billion. With this transformation, the project's masterminds also want to position themselves as a benchmark stadium, capable of hosting tours by international artists that draw huge audiences. The aim is to maximize the site's profitability by increasing the number of days the stadium's used. Finally, the club insists that the new stadium must be the cornerstone of a wider project to revitalize the Old Trafford area. They believe this titanic construction project, which could begin as early as 2025, should lead to the creation of 92,000 new jobs, more than 17,000 new homes, and 1.8 million additional visitors per year. But this transformation's not a given for everyone. The current stadium, dubbed the Theatre of Dreams by former Manchester United star Bobby Charlton, is an institution. It's been the home of the Red Devils' victories and defeats since 1910, a flood of memories that's reactivated at every game and that spectators fear to lose. Another argument, the number of seats available has risen to 100,000. But with over 74,000 seats, Old Trafford's already the largest club stadium in England. Above all, the fans fear that this race for gigantism will have an impact on ticket prices. And the threat's not hypothetical, as the club's already begun to raise prices. The increase will be 5% for tickets to next season's matches, a price increase for the 3rd year in a row. Manchester United's new stadium will not be the world's largest football stadium, despite what shareholders have said, at least not if another major project comes to fruition. This one's in Morocco, in the town of El Mansouriya, 38 kilometers north of Casablanca. Here, on a site of nearly 100 hectares, construction began in November 2023 on the Hassan II stadium. Named after the former king of Morocco, the stadium will have a capacity of 115,000, a new record. Designed by Paris-based architects Oualalou plus Choi and Populous, A world leader in sports design, the monumental enclosure is inspired by the large tents used during the Musim, Morocco's annual regional festival. The stadium will be wrapped in an immense grid of aluminum profiles. The roof will cover the stadium and part of the surrounding area, which will include shops, gardens, and play areas. Most of the roof will be supported by a ring of 32 staircases that'll serve as entrances to the stadium. On the terraced side, the two curves at the ends of the field are designed to accommodate 29,500 people. That's almost 5,000 more than the capacity of the Yellow Wall, the unusual corner of the Borussia Dortmund football club in Germany, which holds just under 24,500. As for the rest of the stands, 5 tiers of grandstands will be able to accommodate up to 12,000 spectators, in addition to all the royal boxes. The stadium's scheduled to be delivered in 2028 and completed by 2030. In that year, Morocco, along with Portugal and Spain, will host the prestigious World Cup. A kind of revenge for Morocco, which had already tried to host the event in 2010, but it was South Africa that was finally chosen by FIFA. And to make 2030 the most beautiful celebration of football in Morocco, nothing is too good to be true. The new stadium will cost at least 5 billion Moroccan dirhams, or nearly 500 million euros, according to an official budget recently unveiled. A figure to be taken with a pinch of salt, as it seems rather modest compared to the budgets allocated to the construction or renovation of the other stadiums mentioned in this video. In any case, by building such a stadium, Morocco's also playing an important card in determining which stadium will have the honor of hosting the World Cup final. The other two countries, Portugal and Spain, also have magnificent stadiums that are currently being renovated, such as the Camp Nou in Barcelona, as we'll see in a moment. But for now, it's the Hassan II stadium that will host the final. Let's hope for the sake of all Moroccans and football fans that the Atlas Lions national team, after the tournament, the Hassan II stadium will become the national team stadium, replacing the aging Mohammed V stadium, also located in Casablanca. The stadium will be located in the heart of the Salmane forest, a 58,000-hectare protected natural area. To avoid starting from scratch, some people opt for renovation, as is the case in Spain. In 2030, 11 of the country's stadiums will be used for the World Cup. While all of them will be up to international standards, some seem to be taking the opportunity to opt for a thorough renovation. This is particularly the case in Madrid, with Real Madrid's Santiago Bernabéu stadium. At a cost of 1 billion euros, the stadium's been completely revitalized. It now boasts a state-of-the-art retractable roof and 360-degree LED screens that cover the entire stadium. The exterior and concourses have also been redesigned. The club, which is home to Kylian Mbappé and Vinicius Jr., boasts one of the finest stadiums in Europe, if not the world. But the club's status is set to be challenged in the coming years, with so many high-profile projects in the pipeline. Take Saudi Arabia, for example, with the Mohammed bin Salman Stadium. Built on a rocky outcrop 200 meters above sea level, the stadium will dominate the valley. To accentuate this panoramic effect, the stadium won't be completely enclosed, and part of the outer enclosure will not have a grandstand overlooking the landscape. Although it'll only hold 46,000 people, it has many other secrets that I mentioned in a video dedicated to Qiddiya, the site of all Saudi Arabia's follies. I've included the link to the video in the description. But let's get back to Spain, because Real Madrid's historic rival, FC Barcelona, could not remain indifferent to the rejuvenation of its longtime enemy. Their stadium, the Camp Nou, is now the largest in Europe with a capacity of over 99,000, compared to over 78,000 for the Madrid rivals. But the 48-meter-high Camp Nou, built in the 1950s, is starting to look a little shabby. Since 2023, an extraordinary project's been underway to bring it fully into the 21st century. In addition to a 360-degree screen like those of Madrid's rivals, the stands will be completely renovated. This will increase capacity to 104,000 available seats. Although the project was scheduled to be completed in time for the club's 125th anniversary on November 29, 2024, work is still underway. The almost complete reconstruction of the stadium, which is supposed to resemble the Colosseum of football, has suffered numerous delays. Workers have even complained about their working conditions. As a result, FC Barcelona will continue to play at the municipal stadium of Montjuic at least until the end of the season. FC Barcelona's management hopes to start the 2025-2026 season in its new stadium, even with a reduced capacity. This extraordinary renovation project, costing almost 1.5 billion euros, isn't expected to be completed until the summer of 2026. The year 2026 is symbolic in more ways than one for the Catalan capital, as it's also the year in which the magnificent Sagrada Familia, designed by architect Antonio Gaudi, is scheduled to be completed. This project's taken a little longer than the renovation of the Camp Nou, as it started 145 years ago. While infrastructure is important, politics can get in the way and spoil the party. A perfect example is the next World Cup in 2026, which will take place in 3 neighboring countries: Mexico, Canada, and the USA. A co-organization whose harmony is now being undermined by the return of Donald Trump as President of the United States. In fact, since his official inauguration, the latter's been blowing hot and cold all over the planet, from Greenland, which he'd like to buy, to the Panama Canal, which he covets and would like to see returned to the bosom of his country. These sweeping declarations resonate even more with his neighbors, whom he constantly threatens with trade wars. The intimidation goes even further with Canada, as the president and his entourage would like to make the country of the maple leaf the 51st state of the United States. A virulent context that won't help the smooth running of the competition, especially if diplomatic relations between the countries remain strained. Sport could then become a lever of pressure for the governments in power. For the time being, the American government seems willing to play the cooperation card on this issue. At the beginning of March, Donald Trump issued an executive order to set up a task force to coordinate the organization of the 2026 World Cup. On the infrastructure front, we're in Los Angeles. Set to open in September 2020, it's nothing short of the most expensive stadium in the world, costing over $5 billion to build. A staggering number for a stadium, no less. Built so as not to interfere with air traffic, the SoFi Stadium pitch is almost 30 meters below ground level, and the pitch and stands are covered by a massive 90,000 square meter claw-shaped glass roof that lets in light but protects against bad weather. A roof that could be transformed into a giant screen to broadcast messages visible to planes flying overhead. With a capacity of 70,000 to 100,000, SoFi Stadium's expected to host numerous World Cup matches, including a semi-final. It'll also be one of the main venues for the 2028 Olympic Games in Los Angeles. It remains to be seen who will be able to play on this pitch and those of other stadiums in the United States in 2026. In mid-March, Reuters and the New York Times revealed that the Trump administration wanted to impose travel restrictions on citizens of 43 countries. The list is divided into 3 colors: yellow, orange, and red. Nationals of countries in the red category would simply be turned away at the border. At present, although many organizations report a tightening of border controls in the United States, not all of these rules are being applied. But what will happen in 2026? Especially since the 11 countries on the list include nations like Iran that have already qualified for the World Cup. Will Iranian soccer players be banned from entering the US? Other countries are also affected, such as Venezuela, a red country whose current ranking in its group should allow it to play in the World Cup playoffs in March 2026, but that tournament's scheduled to be held in the USA. So far, no solution to this problem's been proposed by either the US government or FIFA. The World Cup will be held for the first time with 48 participating nations instead of 32 as in the last version. To be continued.